60,000 miles. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today's video, I've got 60,000 miles on the Model 3. Now I know I did a 50,000 mile update. I did one at 40,000, and so I wanted to I guess I wanted to share with you today the pros and cons, the ups, the downs, the good, the bad of owning a Tesla Model 3, owning a Tesla in general, driving electric for 60,000 miles, just sort of an overall, what are my thoughts? Now, we currently own 2 electric cars, and some of what I'm going to share today really applies to just electric vehicles in general, but the bulk of it will be related to the Model 3 specifically. So this car, I waited in line on opening day, placed my deposit, I think it was 4 minutes or something after orders were being taken, and I was one of the early ones to receive my car for my area anyway. I'm in the low 9,300s VIN number, so it's a relatively early car, all things considered, and I've been driving this car almost exclusively for the time that I've owned it, and at 60,000 miles, all those miles have been put on by me. My wife has only driven it a couple of times, and I've driven our other cars, but the bulk of my driving is done in this car, and there are a few things that really stand out. One of them is that this, far and away more than any other car that I've owned, this car has remained fresh and new to me, far more so than my other cars. Now, I would say the car that would be second to this one would be my previous car, which was it's a 2013 Ford C-Max Hybrid. My 21-year-old son still has that car. It's got 204,000 or 205,000 miles on it at this point, and that car was great. But I'd say at probably 30 or 40,000 miles, it started to become humdrum. It was just my car. I wasn't really excited to drive it. It was just a car. And with this car, it's at 60,000 miles. I still get excited to drive it every single day. Now, that may eventually wear off, but currently it hasn't. I still enjoy the car as much today as I did the day I got it. So that's one of the main things that I want to communicate with you guys, is just how different it is owning and driving a Tesla. And part of it is just the fact that it's electric. Part of it is that it's a Tesla. I think if Teslas had gas engines, they'd still be pretty cool cars. I like the styling, I like their design ethos, I like the minimalist layout while using high-tech, the screen and all that, and all the driver's aids. But let's face it, electric is the future, and much of what makes a Tesla is the fact that it's electric. Now, our other electric car is kind of the opposite extreme of this thing. It's a little Smart electric drive, 2014. And where both this car and the Smart car are similar is in the immediate torque, and that's just an EV thing. The lack of maintenance, the quiet driving, and all of that. So that is present here, but Tesla seems to take it to another level. The level of refinement in drive quality and just the you can tell the smoothness and the build quality of the drive unit of these cars is fantastic. Now, the next thing I want to bring up is something not as fantastic, but it's part of Tesla ownership over this duration, and that is fit and finish. Now, my car is far better fit and finish than some of the Model 3s and even other Teslas that I've seen online, but still mine has its issues. I've got one tiny little rust spot from the fender rubbing on the body of the car. Now, Tesla's taking care of that for me free of charge, but it was a fit and finish issue. I've got a couple really minor, I mean super minor, 1 millimeter type panel misalignments, just really tiny, but they're there and worth mentioning. There are, I don't know, there's other little idiosyncrasies of this car. Some of that is early production number car that I have, and some of it is just Tesla as a young company. but that stuff is relatively minor. So I would say the only other negative, my last video was just on some issues I had using the supercharger network. But again, that's actually, those issues are few and far between, kind of rare. Generally speaking, the supercharger network works phenomenally well. So this car, now what work have I had done to it? In the duration that I've owned it, I had the charge port door was replaced under warranty. I've replaced tires. I put different wheels on it, but that was, it didn't need wheels. I went from the stock 18s up to 20-inch aftermarket wheels. Let's see here. I've added washer fluid to it. Oh, I have lowered it. I lowered it an inch. So my car currently is rolling on low profile 20-inch wheels and tires that are staggered. They're the stock 8.5-inch width up front, but they are 10-inch wide at the rear. This is a rear-wheel drive long-range Model 3. Being rear-wheel drive, I wanted more meat at the rear, and so the rears are wider than the fronts. So driving with low-profile 20s, and it's been lowered 1 inch using T-Sportline 1-inch lowering springs. So having it lowered an inch and the low-profile 20s, there is a little bit rougher ride, but it corners better. This car drives like a sports car now, not like a family sedan like it used to, so I love that. You know, it's kind of funny. At 60,000 miles, this car is still very much like a brand new car. And it's not like I was expecting things to be worn out or anything, but just everything. The vegan leather vinyl interior is fine. You can see I've rewrapped my steering wheel and put Alcantara on the dash. I've got my screen lowered and pitched to the side. I mean, I've done certain things. I have a nice satin wrap on the center console. I didn't like the piano black. The surface was just showed imperfections too much. So I did that. But this car has been, it's been wonderful. I still get excited to drive it every day. I still get excited just to look at the car. And more so than any other car that I've owned. And even our BMW, we have a brand new BMW convertible. Great car, wonderful car. But you know, we've had that car for 6,000 miles. I'm already used to it. I love it. I mean, it's great to drive it with the top down and all that, but I've gotten used to it. This car, I'm in it every single day, 160 miles a day, 60,000 miles since May of 2018, and I'm still excited to drive this car every day. Every time I get in it and drive it, it is a privilege to drive this car. And I know I sound like a fanboy when I say it, but I'm just being straight with you. Is it perfect? No. But it is phenomenal. It is a phenomenal car. All of the technology, the over-the-air software updates, autopilot. Oh my goodness, traveling interstate with this car using autopilot is just incredible. I have no plans to be without a Tesla in my life. If I got another Tesla, I've had a few people ask if I'm going to get a performance Model 3. I would like to, but there's a lot of reasons why I don't plan to. But if I were to get a different Tesla, then maybe I'd get rid of this one. But I can't see myself living without a Tesla automobile in my life. And I'm kind of hard-pressed to imagine a car that would be better, at least better suited for what I'm looking for than this car is. So those are my sort of emotional feelings about the car. Are there things that I wish were different? Sure. That cheapy little smart electric drive that I mentioned to you guys has better rain sensing wipers than this car. You know, I mean, there are issues. The streaming, the music streaming, about every 7th or 8th song, it'll just stop, and it stops streaming that song, and I have to skip to the next song. And of course, it always happens during a song that's one of my favorites. So that's an issue. There are these little things. Those are first world problems. I don't want to whine and complain about it, but the fact of the matter is it was an expensive car, and there are certain things that cheaper cars that I've owned do better than this one, but they're only very small things. The audio system, even though the music streaming, occasionally songs will freeze, the quality, the sound quality of this car is phenomenal. And I used to be into competition car audio in a big way. I've had cars featured in magazines and that kind of thing. And yet this is the best factory stereo system I've ever had in a car, period. It's better than the super high-end Harman Kardon stereo that's in our BMW. This thing's awesome. So if I could have my wish, well, I wish this car were a hatchback. And I know everyone's now going to say, I need to get a Model Y. Well, I don't know. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe I'll get a performance Model Y. I don't know. But I wish this car had a hatchback. It's not a deal breaker, obviously, for me, but it's something I'd like. The glass roof, though it's nice, you know, I would rather have a sunroof that opens. But it is nice having it. But again, I'd rather have an opening sunroof. I would like a gauge binnacle in front of me. I'd like to have certain data from the car that I could see in front of me, but I understand the design language and why they do it this way. That's just a preference of mine. I mean, there are certain things that I would prefer. Some of the things that I love that I didn't realize I would love. Number one, the frunk, the little trunk up front. You wouldn't think it adds much. But, oh, and that leads me to the luggage space in this car is insane. When you open up the trunk, it's a trunk that's about the size of a trunk for a car of this class. But then you move the trunk floor, and there's an added well. Since there's no gas tank and no exhaust system back there, normally you'd have a big muffler and a gas tank taking up a bunch of room beneath the trunk floor. That's not the case here. So you open up the trunk floor, and there's this deep well that you can put like a large carry-on bag in. Then you've got the entire trunk. Then you've got the frunk, which would hold like another carry-on bag. I mean, this car is insane how much space you have. I was driving friends and family around in the car over last weekend, and as they climbed in the back, I hear this, oh, that's right, I forgot. There's no center lump on the floor. The fact that the floor in the back seat is flat all the way across is really nice. I mean, 3 people can be seated very comfortably in the back of this car. Let's see here. I would say of some of the things I would prefer. I would like to have. There are certain things that are a little bit cumbersome to access through the screen, but those are just software changes Tesla could make. It takes 2 keystrokes to open the glove box. If the screen is down, you can't open the glove box, and I've had it happen where there was a glitch in the car, and just resetting the screen wouldn't correct it, and I couldn't get into the glove box. That was a little bit annoying. So there are things like that I would prefer changed in this car. Now, what is the biggest change in my life owning a Tesla? It's the fact that it changes your, I don't want to say your status. It sounds like, I don't know, it sounds like arrogance. But the way people view you changes. So for instance, last night we were out with a bunch of friends, dinner party thing. A friend of mine sat down next to me. First thing out of his mouth, he said, so how's that Tesla treating you? And what's it like living with a Tesla day to day? It becomes part of who you are, almost like getting married. You know, you're no longer an individual, you are one half of a couple. And that's sort of what it's like to own a Tesla. Now, this might be different out in California where Teslas are really, really common and high-end cars are more common than they are here in Northern Illinois. I don't know. But all I know is, even though Model 3s have become very common around here, it's not that this is a unique car to be seen on the road in anymore, like it used to be, but it is still very much the case that when I talk to people, one of the first things they ask me, so how's that Tesla doing, and what are your feelings on it? What are your thoughts? Do you like it? How has it changed your life? So that's probably the biggest thing at 60,000 miles. It's not so much the car. The car is holding up awesome. Absolutely awesome. I couldn't be happier with the purchase. But at 60,000 miles, having this car for the duration I've had it, driving it all that I have, I've gotten used to not buying gas. We still own a couple gas cars, but they're used much less than this car is. So I've gotten used to not buying gas. I've gotten used to the EV philosophy of always be charging. I get home for lunch, I plug the car in. You know, I gain another 20 miles or so of range while I'm eating lunch in the house. You know, you get used to the fact that you don't need to get in and warm up an engine. You just get in and drive. You get used to the fact that there's no oil changes and all of those things. That's a life changer, or well, that's a game changer in life. I'll word it that way. So the fact that it just, you don't even think about maintenance. And it's not that nothing can go wrong with this car. Definitely things can go wrong with a Tesla. But you, generally speaking, do not have the maintenance issues with this car that you do with a normal gas car. It's just the reality of it. So those are my thoughts. Not really a monumental video. It's just, you know, living with this car for 60,000 miles. Not that I don't remember what it was like having a gas car. I do remember, and that's kind of part of it. I remember oil changes constantly, stopping for gas all the time. You know, I remember those days. But I'm really glad I have this car. And so 60,000 miles, I'm absolutely thrilled. And assuming I don't trade this car in on a different car to use for work, I use this car for my business. Assuming I don't trade it in on another car, I plan to have this thing for a couple 100,000 miles. Maybe let one of my adult kids commandeer it from me at that point, and then I'll get a different one. I don't know. But I couldn't be happier. And my wife and I have a few other 1,000+ mile trips planned to take in this car coming up soon. So anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Let me know if there's any videos that you'd like filmed, if there's a question that you have on the car or something you'd like shown. I'll be more than happy to oblige if I can. So thanks a lot, guys. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Take it easy now.